everybody. This is Dr. Novak again, and I'm going to be doing a review of the Superjet 2400. This is probably the most expensive filter I've ever seen on the market for a hobbyist. It is a big filter, and the reason I bought this versus the Eheim, the big Eheim, after reading all the reviews of the Eheim and me reviewing the 600 ADA, and this is the 2400 ADA, one thing that turned me off of the big huge Eheim was it took, some people claimed it took over 2 hours just to get it set up. And it took me 2 hours just to make the BCB basket in here, and that's it. Setting this thing up is a piece of cake. And I heard people taking 2 hours to set up the Eheim. I thought that's a little long. I don't know why it's in so many pieces. The next thing I realize as complaints about the Eheim, things breaking. Both my Eheims that I have, my Echo and my 2217, they're both broken. They're both either cracked or parts have cracked. So in order to avoid keep rebuying stuff, and I think Eheims are very nice filters, okay, for their price, I decided to go with this. This is an extremely expensive filter, I understand, but this is going to be put outside on a large aquarium in the lanai, because I live in Florida and they have lanais. If you're up north, you'll know a lanai is just nothing but a covered porch, but here they call it a lanai. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to put a large tank in the lanai, and the reason I did this, I wanted something dependable, because I have a BCB in here and I'm going to show you everything, is because I want to have goldfish. Now, goldfish are my passion, and I've had goldfish even as a child. That was my very first fish I ever had. So I seem to really have a love for goldfish, and especially ranchus and lionheads. And believe it or not, some of the oldest goldfish I've ever owned in my life was used with an anoxic filter, and they were lionheads. Those are some of my oldest goldfish, and they lived anywhere between 15 to 17 years. Those goldfish did. I had like maybe 9 of them. And the only reason I lost some of them is because later on in their life, a blue heron came in and got some of them. But other than that, they are my passion. Goldfish is Cyprinius carpio, Coracis auratus. I've done a lot of experiments with them, stuff like that. Goldfish are to be said to be easy. They are not. They are not a beginner fish. They are for a more advanced hobbyist. The goldfish that you get at a carnival, the comet is pretty hardy. The comet is the fish that has several parasites on it, lots of different kinds of bacteria on it. That's the ones you will use in school a lot to show people about bacteria and parasites, is the common comet. But the fancy goldfish, either Chinese or Japanese, which is what I love, is the ranchu or the lionhead. That is my favorite fish of all time. And in saltwater, my favorite fish would be the clown trigger. But for freshwater, that's what it has to be. They're also known as buffalo fish. But there's one thing about those fish is everyone thinks goldfish are easy to take care of. They are not. They're for an advanced hobbyist who knows what they're doing, who has the right kind of filtration. So the reason I spent the money on this is because goldfish, if you get the lionheads or real nice ranchus, you're going to pay at least $160 to $600 or $700 a piece for them. That's a lot of money for a fish. And you don't want to screw around, mess around with bad filtration. I've seen people have very expensive goldfish and they had their water changes going every single day, 24/7. A little bit of water was constantly being exchanged out of the aquarium with the goldfish, and they were very successful. I've been very successful with an anoxic filter. I have not been as successful as I should claim I am using other types of filtration system. And I'm just being honest with you. Since I've used this anoxic filtration system, my koi I've lived over 31 years. I had goldfish 15 to 17 years. I've never had goldfish live that long. But using an anoxic filtration system, I have. So I'm just letting you know, if you're going to go out and buy fish, and let's say you're going to spend $300 a piece on one fish, you want to make sure you damn well got the best filtration system out there. And this is the only thing I can think of. I want something reliable, because I'm going to have a 75-gallon or bigger. I'm going to put it out in the lanai. It's going to be exposed. It's not going to be exposed to the elements like rained on or anything. It's going to be away from rain or anything, but it's still going to be exposed to humidity like Florida has. So I need something very reliable, and I don't want something to break down. And with the Eheim, I read everything about it. I didn't want to trust it. Yes, it's only about a $400 or $500 filter, big filter. Everyone says it's nothing but a 5-gallon jug with a motor on top of it, whatever. The breaking part of parts and everything, so I just didn't want to risk it. If I'm going to spend that much money, and let's say I have 6 fish, you know, at $300-400 a piece, $500 a piece, you know, you're talking thousands of dollars of fish in one aquarium. I don't want to play games. I'm tired of playing games with all these filters. I may put a plenum, or I may just dust the bottom lightly with some aquarium gravel that I already have. Just dust it lightly, less than 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm not going to use sand because goldfish love to, you know, sift through the substrate looking for food. So they're constantly moving things. So a small, thin substrate is good for goldfish because they're constantly digging and moving the aquarium topography around. And that's why I did this. So this particular pump, a Awaki pump, pumps about 490 gallons per hour, which is good for an anoxic filter. I want to turn the tank over as many times as I can, and I want a filter that could handle it. Because you got to listen, this is going to be my main biological filter. I don't want to play games. This is my main filter for those fish. If I'm buying $300 fish a piece and I got 6 or 7 or 10 fish, and I know I'll be overcrowding them a little bit, I want a filter I can rely on. I know I can rely on an anoxic filter compared to any other filter out there because it doesn't clog. I know that if I clean this out, I'm not going to be really cleaning out the basket, and therefore I'm never going to destroy my biological filter. The rest of it that's in here is all going to be cleaned out and taken away, and I know that. So I'm not going to play games. So yes, this is expensive, but in the long run, me losing $2,000-3,000 worth of fish, no, I don't want to play that game either. So basically, it's like the other one. It's very well made. It is extremely heavy. So don't doubt that this thing is not heavy. Once again, we got a chamfer. You can tell this is hand done, this chamfer. Probably off of a mill by what I'm looking at. This top is laser cut. It's got a laser etch here so they know where to bend it. This is a laser cut top. The pump itself is once again 100 volts, so they give you a reducer for the voltage. And I've been using the reducer on the 600, and what I found out is with the reducer, the pump runs cooler and it's quieter. If you run it off of 120 volts, the pump is going to run a lot higher, about 106 to 108 degrees. When you go to grab this, it's going to be hot. With the voltage reducer, you'll be able to grab it because it runs about 89 degrees to 93 degrees. So you'll be able to grab it. It's not hot. But I noticed that some people said, oh, they just plug it directly into the outlet here in America, which we're running 60 hertz. I myself, I'm going to use a reducer because a hot motor doesn't last as long as a cool motor. And you really don't want to run it too slow because that will overheat it. And if you run it that way, if maybe it runs a little faster at 120 volts, but the heat the 600 gives off, and I don't want to mess around. These motors are very expensive. I bet you that motor is a $600 motor because they usually last 10 years plus. That's probably a $600 motor. I don't want to screw around. So this is the inside. This is all stainless steel. This is something I made. I'm an engineer. I made this, so something you can't buy. But the basket, excuse me, the basket I put in here, there's plenty of room around the basket so water can flow. There is filtering material underneath this basket. There's a sponge I cut out to fit perfect. And there are 2 filter flosses. And this is what I like to use. I just buy it at a craft store. And look at this. You can make a lot of filtering material out of this. 10 by 26, that's what you need, 10 inches in here. It's a big filter. Also, what I had to change is my craft screen. I got the larger craft screen from Joann's. This is 13.5 by 22.6 to make this out of. Because this is as big, a little bit bigger than a 2217 canister filter. This Anoxic filter. And it will hold anywhere between 9 to 10 pounds of fish. Okay, because it's bigger than a 7 by 7 by 11 basket that you put in the pond. And one basket is per koi. So you figure if you have 8 koi, you would need 8 baskets. And if you want, you can double that because it's easy to double that. But this basket is bigger than a 7 by 7 by 11. And because of that, this will hold easily 8 to 10 pounds of fish. That's a lot of fish, 8 to 10 pounds. The reason is because koi are very heavy. They have a lot of mass. So you're talking about a 30, 32-inch koi. It's going to have, I've seen koi, one person had one, it was 12 pounds. Okay. That's a big koi though. That's got a girth on it, like this, 8, 9-inch girth on it of a koi. More than what we're going to do. So I know this is overkill for the goldfish I want to use, but that's what I want, overkill. Remember, when this gets clean, you just pull this out, set it off to the side, take your filter material that I have on the bottom and clean and dispose of it, clean it, put new stuff in, and put everything back. But I had to use this thicker mesh to give it more strength, and all I did was just double it like this, and I sewed it. Once again, I did my old one. So that's how big that filter is. I did the same thing on the bottom as I did the other one. I got the round pieces, I cut them out, made the bottom, and then I had to line the inside with this. I just lined it. I didn't have to sew it because the holes in the bigger mesh, as you can see, they're bigger than the holes here. So after I made it, I lined it here with this. And then I poured my kitty litter in, cleaned it real good, and that should do. Like I said, this is bigger than a 2217. So take a 2217 and fill it completely full of kitty litter all the way to the very top. And that's what you have. Now that's a lot of for a BCB and a canister. You could use one of these probably on a big Eheim. Do the same thing. You can do the same thing. Like I said, I'm not bad-mouthing Eheim. I love Eheims, but I didn't want to play any games with breaking or anything else, and this is going to have very expensive fish. Might as well buy a very expensive filter. The most expensive filter I've ever bought is this, but it's going to last me the rest of my life and then some. I lubricate it, the O-ring, with Vaseline, so you can tell it's lubricated. This ought to protect that O-ring from dry rotting. And this is heavy. Believe me, this whole thing is heavy. So I'm probably going to put this whole thing on casters. You know, a plant stand, a wood one or plastic one, a small one. Put it so it can be rolled around. So that should be no problem. Plus I'm out in the lanai, so all I have to do is roll it to the door and just empty it out. And then I can pull this out, put off to the side, get the garden hose and clean it out. So the luxury of living in Florida is the weather's always nice. You don't have, like up north right now, today it's like 27 degrees in Michigan. You know, here it's 82 degrees and people are still swimming. So I will put a heater in the aquarium, but it probably is going to be used maybe 2 months out of the year, 3 max. And then the heater will be, because the goldfish, they can take the cold. You just don't want, you know, sudden changes, you know, like overnight it dropping. So the heater is only going to be used for that purpose. But like if you watch my other review on the ADA 600, this one's made just as good as that one. I can't say it is not. They give you everything for it. They even give you some filtering material for it. But I'm not going to use that, of course. I'm using the Anoxic filter. And this thing is, once again, very tight, like the other one. And it's not going to leak. But that's the reason I bought it. I know a lot of people were probably thinking, oh, you could have got the Eheim. Yeah, but I didn't want to mess around with it. Like I said, the Eheim's okay. You can use it for very large aquariums, or you could use it just like the Fluval. The Fluval like 4 and the 6. But I don't know if you can turn them into an Anoxic filter. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. The Fluvals are another big, good filter that everybody likes. But yeah, is this overkill? It probably is. But like I said, I don't want to mess around with things breaking constantly. I need something dependable. The motor can always be replaced. You can always put an Eheim motor here if this one ever burns out. You know, you can always get a cheaper motor. This one has a head pressure of close to 15 feet. Now, for this size pump, they have a head pressure of 15 feet. That's quite a lot of head. So this thing is not going to slow down, even as it starts clogging up. This thing with that much head pressure. And I don't know if that's the 491 gallons per hour. Is that rated at the 15 feet, or if that's rated only at, you know, 1 meter of head? I don't know how they rate this, but that's what it's rated, or is it rated right at here? But anyway, I will do more videos as I get the tank, get it set up. I'll have to level it, everything else on the lanai. There's a problem why I'm putting it out on the lanai versus in the house. This is Florida. Florida has a lot of humidity. For those of you who don't live down here or maybe if you lived in Georgia or something, you know exactly what I mean. There's a lot of humidity. And I'm going to put the tank outside. I will have a lid on it and everything in the lanai so it could be protected, but so we can enjoy it. When we're sitting out in the lanai, you can have these nice, beautiful goldfish and enjoy, because if you have a pond down here in Florida, you're going to have every critter on the planet attacking it, unless it's covered some way to be protected. Because we got alligators here, we got snakes here, we got every kind of vermin you can think of down here that's going to get into your pond and take all your fish out of it. And that doesn't include the birds. You know, we got the blue heron and stuff like that. We got birds down here that 5-6 feet tall, and they can get into your pond and they'll sit there all day long waiting to pick off your fish. So it's going in the lanai to be protected. So when we're sitting out in the lanai, we can enjoy it. And with the way things are set up here, I have over 10, 12 feet of glass doors to look out in the lanai. We can actually look from the family room or your great room out in the lanai and watch the fish. That way, if anything happens to the tank, you can make a mess, water spills, you don't have to worry about anything. And still, it will be protected. You can't do this, of course, in northern states, but in Florida, yeah, because it's always 80 or 90 degrees. Good thing, too, is even if the tank gets up in the 90s, goldfish can take that. You know, goldfish can really take a wide variety of temperature. And even though they're cold water fish, they can take over 100-degree temperatures in their aquarium if need be. That's why some recommend putting goldfish with discus, because discus like it very warm, 84 to 86 degrees, and goldfish, they don't mind either. And what they'll do is they'll stir up the substrate when the discus make a big mess and keep the tank clean. So some people, I heard like over in Japan, that they mix a few goldfish in with their discus, and the goldfish are there just to keep the substrate stirred up. And they don't bother the discus. And that's how goldfish are. They're docile. They're just one of those kind of fish that don't seem to bother other fish. Sometimes, yeah, you may get one that gets nasty, you know, but that's very rare that goldfish are going to be picking on each other like other fish do. Like, for example, my parrotfish. You know, they're constantly fighting, wanting to spawn. They're constantly fighting, picking on each other, beating up on each other. They're not like cichlids. They're not like African cichlids that are constantly fighting with each other. So you don't have to worry about that with goldfish. So, I did want to end this with PeckTec. PeckTec. I think it's BECKTEX. I did an interview with him. I will have the Sean is his name, and he's been around a long time. I've been a fan of his for years, and he's done like a steampunk aquarium, and he does different types of aquarium, and him and I do an interview with each other, and we may be doing more in the future. But we did an interview because there was something that he brought up during the interview, and I will put the link to the video because he just put the video out today, this Sunday, and today is the 15th, and we talk about it. One thing that he said about putting substrate at the bottom of the aquarium, I said, I don't have much luck with that. I've tried it. Tanks I tried it with, they don't seem to be very successful, and I have to take them down. I said, I usually take them down within a year because they're just not doing right. He mentioned the same thing. He said 1 out of 4 of his tanks that he does that way come out good. I said, well, that's a 25% success rate. I said, that's really not very good if you think about it. And he's been doing this for over 15 years in this aquarium hobby. And he said, yeah, I'm having trouble. And I said, I have trouble, and I'm admitting the truth. Putting my substrate directly at the bottom of the aquarium, I never seemed to be that successful. I went up with algae problems. The fish don't seem to do as well. I'm constantly fighting then cyanobacteria, beard algae, you name it. I've never been that successful where I said I've tried a fluval because I just put it on the bottom. It was an aquarium, 5-gallon aquarium. I said that was a disaster. It didn't work out. Some of these ideas, they sound good on paper, but they really, don't work very well. And here's two of us who've been doing this for quite a while, both admitted the same thing, that we are not as successful by putting the substrate directly on the bottom of aquariums as we would like to be. And with the anoxic filter, I found out that people are about 90% successful. So that means 1 out of 10 may not come out. But usually I notice out of that 10%, it's usually the kitty litter was a little different than what it should be, even though it could have been from Walmart, or they set it up wrong, or they changed something in the formula. Okay, they changed the whole equation and they expected to get the same results as I do. And that caused them to fail. So there's a 90% success rate, which is good if you think about it. Very good, a 90% success rate, that if you use an anoxic filter with a BCB, that you'll be successful. But since this is going to be the main biological filter that I have to depend on, I know that BCB in there is going to last 20, 30 years, longer than I'm going to live. So I'm not going to have to worry about anything clogging up, buying new substrate, having to restart. Once this thing is done after 45 to 60 days and it's been seeded, it's going to be good forever. And that's what I want. I don't want expensive fish to go into any ammonia shock or anything else. And I'll do videos on it so I can show everybody, but it's like anything else. I could do thousands of videos and still people will never be convinced, and I understand that. That's all up to each individual. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget, I put the link below. I'll have some videos that you can watch on the anoxic filter, and you can also watch the review I do with Sean. And I hope you enjoy it. It's a long video. I just start tuning into it. It's over an hour long. So yeah, you could probably listen to it, because I've done radio interviews, where they're on their radio. And usually they only last like 15 minutes or less when you do an interview on the radio. But this one, of course, is done for YouTube, and it went longer than we thought. So if you have any comments or anything, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, this is Dr. Kevin Novak, and enjoy your fish keeping.